I went and saw Avengers Endgame, and it was just amazing. I enjoyed everything about this movie from beginning to end. It had great comedy, great action, great storytelling, great everything. The movie first starts out taking place just 23 days after the events of Infinity War, with Hawkeye just spending time with his family before the wife and kids vanish, and switches over to Tony and Nebula drifting in space in a spaceship, while everyone else is still on Earth, looking over the list of those that vanished due to Thanos using Infinity Stones. Captain Marvel comes to Tony's rescue as the ship was almost out of oxygen, and brings him and Nebula to Earth. His and Captain America's reaction and choice of words to each were perfect in my opinion. These two haven't really spoken to each other for a few years, after leaving things on bitter terms, and they are both clearly showing regret for how things ended the last time they saw each other. Oh, but Tony is not only showing regret, but frustration and anger towards Captain America as well. He basically goes, "I told you so" to the guy, as he brings up past arguments they've had in previous movies where Tony talked about adding more protection against future threats, and Captain America argued against compromising freedom for said protection. And given everything the guy has been through since Civil War, I can't say I blame him for acting so angry. Captain America tries to get him to help find Thanos, but Tony's all, "No, I'm done. Find him yourself," before taking that little nanobot iron suit thing from his chest and just putting it in Captain America's hand before leaving. Luckily, Nebula knows exactly where Thanos is at, and everyone but Tony goes there, ambushes the guy, and chops his hand that's wearing the gun right off. And I'm just thinking, whoa, I did not see that coming. But then Thanos reveals he used the power of the Infinity Stones to destroy said stones themselves, so that way no one can ever undo what he has done. Then Thor chops off his head, and everyone just leaves. And this is still merely the beginning of the movie too. The movie then jumps ahead 5 years later, and people are still coping with half of the population of the world having disappeared. Captain America spends his time in support groups for said kind of people. Hawkeye is traveling the world and killing any bad people he can find. Bruce Banner has embraced the Hulk part of himself and is now in his Hulk form while still retaining his mind. Captain Marvel is traveling to other planets to help them out. Tony now has a daughter, and Thor is fat. Then Ant-Man comes back from the quantum realm, completely unaware of what has happened in the last 5 years. There's even this one scene where he starts walking down an all but abandoned road and asks some kid riding a bike what's happened. The look on that kid's face says so much about how tragic everything was without anything needing to be said. After reuniting with his daughter, which if you ask me seems to have aged just a bit more than 5 years since the last movie she was in, he goes to the other heroes and introduces the idea of time travel to them. It turns out 5 hours in the quantum realm equals 5 years outside of it. There's some funny jokes about how Ant-Man thinks time travel works, and he and Rhodey are just listing every possible time-traveling movie and shows you can think of. Even bad ones. There's even this bit where Ant-Man keeps coming back younger or older than he's supposed to be, while they're running tests on time-traveling with him being the guinea pig. Then Tony figures it out, and they all start working on a plan to retrieve all Infinity Stones from the past, so that they can bring them to the future and bring back everyone that vanished 5 years ago without erasing anything that has happened in the past 5 years. And as far as I can remember them explaining it, what they do in the past will not impact the future they came from, but will instead create a different timeline for the past they go to if they're not careful. Nonetheless, they still plan to return all stones back from where and when they take them from, once they're done with them, so that those other past timeline futures don't suffer for their victory. The way they revisit some of the previous movies with different perspectives was just great. Thor and Rocket on Thor's homeworld during Dark World, trying to extract the reality stone from Thor's ex-girlfriend. Thor starts having panic attacks or something, and his mother in the past talks to him, fully aware that he's from the future, and gives him confidence to see if he is still worthy to summon his old hammer, Mjolnir, to his hand. Turns out he is, and just in time since the Asgardian guards are closing in on him and Rocket after the latter took the reality stone. So they take the stone and the hammer with them. So right now Thor has both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. During the invasion that takes place during the Avengers, Bruce is trying to convince the Ancient One to give him the Time Stone, but she refuses because she has no guarantee that they would succeed in their mission and bring it back so that her timeline will stay safe. It is pretty cool seeing her attacking any of those alien invaders that just happen to pass her by. She finally relents after Bruce tells her that Doctor Strange willingly gave Thanos the Time Stone, which convinces her to give her own because Strange is supposed to be the best Sorcerer Supreme to ever exist. Nebula and Rhodey are at the beginning of when Guardians of the Galaxy takes place, and they're just watching Star-Lord dancing sing to himself as he gets closer to where the Power Stone is. They can't hear the song he's listening to, so I laughed a little when Rhodey was conferring with Nebula that the guy was an idiot. They knock him out and take the Power Stone. Black Widow and Hawkeye go to get the Soul Stone, but find out they have to sacrifice that which they love. So the two begin trying to kill themselves while the air tries to stop them until ultimately Black Widow is dead and Hawkeye leaves with the stone. Though I don't think that technique should have worked, since they were told they had to sacrifice that which they love, not that which they love must sacrifice itself. Captain America, Ant-Man, and Tony are all trying to get the Space and Mind Stone after the Avengers' past selves defeated Loki. The Mind Stone was pretty easy, due to Captain America pretending to be a Hydra agent, because there were a lot of Hydra agents pretending to be S.H.I.E.L.D. agents at the time. However, they lose the Space Stone because Tony gets hit by a door swing opened by Past Hulk, and passively takes the stone and teleports away with it. So now this Loki in this past timeline is on the loose. There's even this cool yet amusing bit where Captain America gets spotted by his past self, and it's thought to be Loki in disguise, and they get into a brawl. Now because they don't have time to figure out where past Loki went to with the Space Stone, Captain America, Ant-Man, and Tony all take their chance by going back to the 70s where Stone will be under S.H.I.E.L.D.'s custody at the time. They manage to get it, and Tony even gets to have some last words with his father, Howard Stark, like he wished he has for so long. It was actually very nice. Howard was expecting to be a father soon, and is full of doubt, and Tony gives him some encouragement about how he's going to do well. After collecting all the stones, they all return to the future except for Black Widow, who is dead, and Nebula is replaced by her past self to infiltrate and take the stones from them. They put all the stones on some gauntlet that was just made, and discuss who should be the one to use the stones and why. Thor is already begging to do it, saying things like, "Please, please, I have to do this," and such. It just shows you how hard he's taken all of his losses after all this time. Both his parents are dead. He and Loki were just beginning to reconcile before Thanos killed him. His homeworld is destroyed, and nearly all of his people are wiped out, be it because they were slaughtered or snapped out of existence. Sadly, however, this means he's not in the right state of mind to use the stones. So instead, Bruce is the one to use them, saying how the properties is similar to gamma radiation or something along them lines, and that his body, which is the same as the Hulk's now, can take the backlash from using Infinity Stones. As he's about to snap back everyone that's disappeared, not just on Earth, but the whole universe 5 years ago, his face isn't one of triumph, for they all agree that they would not use the stone to change what has happened in the past 5 years, but merely bring back those that have vanished to the present day. This means Black Widow has to stay dead, even though it's recent, because that is what they all agreed on. Bruce snaps his finger, and boy is the backlash big. His entire right arm is like burnt, and I mean really burnt. He can barely move it. They see some wildlife spring up all of a sudden that wasn't there before, so that tells them it was a success. Then the headquarters gets bombarded by passing out firing missiles or whatever after he followed them through time. While the Avengers narrowly escape death, the present-day Nebula talks to past Gamora and convinces her to help stop past Thanos. There's even this scene where the two of them are trying to stop past Nebula from giving all 6 stones to Thanos by trying to convince her to join them, but she's too scared to oppose him, is about to kill Gamora, but then present-day Nebula kills past Nebula instead, showing just how much Nebula has changed since we were first introduced to her. Captain America, Tony, and Thor, who admittedly still looks pretty awesome in his battle wear despite the weight he's gained, are the first to confront Thanos, who is carrying around this double-sided sword. He knows that the Thanos of this timeline has succeeded in wiping out half of all life, and is trying to not only prevent the Avengers from undoing what has been done, but also plans to erase all life and replace it with his own. Honestly, I think that takes away the idea that he really did think he was helping the universe by extinguishing half of all life in it, and just makes him a neurotypical bad guy. I understand that he now knows that the half that survives won't thrive like he planned for them, but if he truly believed it's simply because they'll remember those that vanished, then why not just take the stones and erase all memories of those that vanished? Anyways, he gets into a big fight with Captain America, Tony, and Thor all at once, and it was pretty cool seeing Thor using both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker at the same time. There was this moment where it looked like past Thanos was going to impale him with Stormbreaker, but then Captain America picks up Mjolnir and hits Thanos to get him off of Thor. So yeah, Captain America can now wield a hammer that he couldn't lift back in Age of Ultron. He's worthy of it now. And he's really laying some blows with it on past Thanos. Though I feel that him being able to summon lightning with it contradicts the revelation in Ragnarok, that the lightning never came from the hammer, but from Thor himself. Still awesome though. Things start looking pretty grim as past Thanos just chips away at Captain America's shield until there's barely half of it left, and he gets flung back quite some distances. Worse yet, past Thanos' army is beginning to march behind their leader. Then probably the most awesome moment to ever happen happened. A bunch of magical portals all start showing themselves behind Captain America, and not only do the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy that disappeared in Infinity War emerge, but several armies come out to match against the might of past Thanos' own army. You got Black Panther with the entire might of Wakanda behind him. You got the army in Asgard, and you even got those mystic monks from Doctor Strange that guard those temples. There might have been a few other armies too, but those were the three major ones. There was even this moment where Ant-Man breaks through the roof of the now destroyed headquarters in his giant form with Bruce still in his Hulk form in hand. None of that though had the audience more excited than the return of Spider-Man. I am serious. People in the theater were cheering so much the moment that he made his appearance. The two opposing forces stare each other down, and Captain America cries out those famous lines fans should be well aware of before beginning the charge. Avengers assemble! And they all just head straight on to face Thanos and his army in the center of battle. There's so much that went on that I couldn't possibly tell you all of it. It had both amazing action and emotional scenes. I mean, there was this part where Ant-Man in his giant form just punches one of those armored space whale things. I don't know what it was, but he punched it and knocked it out! Doctor Strange just opening portals up underneath any enemies that he can and letting them get swallowed up. Spider-Man starts talking to Tony about what he remembered before vanishing in a fast-paced way like usual, but Tony just hugs him, shocking him for a moment before hugging back. It's such a small gesture, but after the fact the last time Tony saw him, Spider-Man vanished in his arm while afraid, that hug says so much. And Wanda starts turning into past Thanos so badly that he gives a command to his ship to fire onto the entire battlefield, killing friend and foe alike. Then Captain Marvel shows up and destroys the ship. Then she and every main female character all form a team that's trying to send all the Infinity Stones back to their own timeline and away from past Thanos. Well, all except for Black Widow because, you know, she's dead. And it was just so cool seeing all of them together like that, because these women have shown they can each kick butt. Unfortunately, past Thanos destroys their way to return the stones, and it soon becomes a battle between everyone and him trying to pick up the gauntlet with the stones in them and use them to end the battle. Tony is ultimately the one that retrieves and uses the stones, snapping past Thanos and his entire army out of existence. But his body couldn't take it. So after all this time since the very first MCU movie, Iron Man, Tony Stark dies. It was expected, but it was still sad. After the funeral, Captain America travels back in time with all the stones to put them back. He doesn't travel back to his present day though. Instead, he decides to stay in the past and live out his life. So in a sense, he took the long way home. Though I feel as though that goes against the movie earlier saying that what they do in the past will not impact their own timeline, but just create a different one for the past that they go to. By all accounts, he shouldn't have been able to reunite with everyone the way that he just did. So anyways, he gives Falcon his shield and dubs him the new Captain America. So yeah, this movie was awesome. For a 3-hour-long movie, it went by so fast. There's probably more I could say about it, but that's all I got after seeing it. They've been building up to this for years, and it more than paid off. Avengers Endgame might actually be the best movie out of the entire MCU thus far.